Hello, this is Mr. Montgomery on our uh, review of the class syllabus. So if you will follow with me, I might do this in a couple of videos because it might get a little bit long, but I always do this first thing in the face-to-face classrooms. I always walk through the video so you know exactly what is coming up and what is to be expected. And then, of course, please follow up with any questions you might have by emailing those to me or using the Canvas inbox. That may be even better. Okay, so let's walk through this. You may want to get out your syllabus or go online and follow with me while we're doing this. So it is Fundamentals for Effective Speaking, COM-STD2. In other schools, for example, it might be called the Public Speaking course or Effective Speaking, which it is here. But the idea is to learn how to communicate in general with others, but really, in my opinion, it is really focusing on how to get up in front of a group of people and make an effective presentation, and also how to develop that presentation so that it leads to it being effective, and then looking at ways of how we present that we might improve our upfront presence and presentation. So if you watched the self-introduction video, I have a little bit there about me. I went through that in that video, but there it is as well. We will be using Canvas, obviously, the textbook, The Art of Public Speaking, 12th edition. You need to have one of those if online or a hard copy, printed copy in front of you, but you absolutely need that textbook. You cannot get through this class without it. I guarantee you will not be successful if you don't have that textbook. Okay, so moving on, what do you want to get out of this class? These are the objectives that we are aiming for. Let me read these to you. I know people hate to be read to. Demonstrate awareness and application of substantive, structural, and stylistic factors that influence public speaking and communication, including speech structure, speaker credibility, that's a huge issue, audience and situational analysis, quality research, use of organization and logic and structure, persuasion processes, language issues, use of presentation aids, which usually breaks down to a PowerPoint, but not always, and delivery components. Number 2, create original supported speech content that follows proper speech structure, including the use of quality preparation outline. Just a couple of comments there. Original, meaning we don't want you to obviously use other people's work. I know you can go online and buy a speech, but we want your own work. In addition, original also refers to the fact that we want you to do new work. Please do not try to resurrect an old speech from high school or a previous class. We want you to go through the process to do all the work. Please don't try to reuse a speech just to avoid having to go through the process, because it is going through the process that is part of the learning experience. A gentleman I knew from years ago who did home construction, he always said it's easier to start from scratch than it is to try to rebuild or reconnect with another building and try to integrate them together. Same thing here. It's a lot easier in the long run to do an original speech than it is to try to redo and revamp an old speech. Number 3, strengthen the ability to present ideas to an audience in a confident, fluent, concise, and accurate manner in formal and informal settings. We want you to feel good about being in front of an audience. Sometimes that can be helped by just doing more upfront speeches. In the classroom, I try to get people up front as much as possible. Online, you're not necessarily in front of a group, but we do want you to take these principles and then be able to use them, whether it's in a classroom in the future or at your work where you might be doing presentations in front of others. Some of you, it might even end up being your career of being up front. I thought I was going to be an architect and really never thought about public speaking. I hated the idea of public speaking. And when I was a pastor, I was up front in front of people every week, and now I love being in front. I love teaching. I love working in front of a group. So you never know. And then number 4, establish and apply a personal standard of ethics in the public speaking process. And there's a chapter in the textbook on ethics that we will be talking about. And then number 5, identify and practice aspects of becoming a perceptive listener. Expressing courtesy and encouragement when listening to others, including the ability to critique others in a positive and helpful manner. So this is where we're kind of flipping to the other side. Not only will we be looking at speaking, we will also be looking at what entails quality listening, and not only listening, but then offering feedback so that we might help others learn through that evaluation process. Now there at the bottom of the page, prepare early, practice a lot. That is our class motto. Prepare early, practice a lot. If that might occur on the final exam, there it is. But that says it all right there. When you're creating a speech presentation, the earlier you get started, that means that you have more time available to develop your speech, and then also practice a lot. The way those fit together is if you prepare early, not only do you give yourself more time to prepare the speech, but it means you finish preparing it earlier, which allows you more time to practice the speech. And lots and lots and lots and lots of practice. I will be saying that through the semester. So those two go together. Prepare early, start early, and then practice a lot for your speech, a lot more than you might think is necessary. Okay, so how do you know that what you have achieved in the class? These are the student learning outcomes. You should be able to deliver a poised, vocally expressive, cogent, and clearly structured extemporaneous oral presentation. Extemporaneous is not reading your speech on the one hand, nor is it impromptu where you're just saying it without anything. It is well practiced, but also using notes to remind you and guide you, but it's undergirded with so much practice that you're very confident with your presentation. Number 2, you will produce written organization patterns for various speaking occasions. I think it should be occasions, not occasion. And a lot of this will be what we call your preparation outline. We're going to talk about that more in detail, but a preparation outline takes you through the whole process. It is a document you will produce, and you're actually going to submit that document, and I will evaluate it. It's a good 20-25% of your grade, but it's a very helpful document to create. We're going to talk more about that. And then number 3, you're going to develop improved self-confidence in the oral presentation skills, in their oral presentation skills. The more you present, the better you will be. Now, it is true some people are just going to always be anxious and nervous about speaking publicly, but either A, we can give you some skills and tools for how to reduce that anxiety. 2, we're going to give you opportunity to speak so that you can, through the practicing and doing it and being confident, will reduce it. And then you might even find that you will enjoy the process. Okay, so we have some elements there. I'm looking at it. Participation in the classroom. I'm always, asking for volunteers, asking people to participate in the communication, answer questions before the class. Obviously, we don't have that opportunity, but participation here is in terms of evaluating one another's speeches, watching one another's speeches. It is participating in online discussions and posting your comments and then replying to others' comments. And I am keeping track of those, so there is a score, part of your score related to that. Another little quote there, best way to conquer stage fright is to know what you're talking about. And again, well prepared, well practiced, right? Okay, so now we're going to go through the how does the class work? So number 1 is just a reminder that we are not meeting in person, as you very likely should know by now. We're using Canvas to try to remedy some of those missing elements through the different tools in Canvas. And there's just a observation here. On the one hand, when you're not meeting face-to-face, it gives you lots of flexibility and freedom when to do assignments. You don't have to have them done on a specific day when you're going to class, but you still have to have them done, and don't allow the flexibility and freedom to lead to failure in that you take advantage of it and don't do your assignments in a timely manner. They load up and then they don't get done at all because it's just too much. So enjoy the freedom and flexibility, but don't let it lull you into a false sense of tomorrow never comes. Okay. We're only in an 8-week course this summer. This is usually 18 weeks. And so everything is being crammed down. So where you normally might have a chapter or 2 to read per week, now we're reading 3 along with 2 or 3 assignments each week. So you've got to be on it for these 6 weeks. The great thing, it's only done in 6 weeks. The dangerous thing, it's a lot of work to do in 6 weeks. So you've got to be on it, and don't assume necessarily that this is like a 18-week course and it has the same level of involvement each week. It's 3 times essentially as much work each week. So be well aware of that. All documents and everything is going to be going through Canvas. I will be posting lecture videos for your viewing. And again, that's going to be on top of the textbook. Now, I will review the general content of the chapter, but then I will also add additional comments, examples, observations, suggestions. So you don't want to skip either reading the chapter and you don't want to skip the video. They go together, and we're expecting that you will do both. I am going to have you in teams at the start of the class on Monday. The purpose of the teams is primarily when it comes to evaluating speeches. So you will be on a team with a few other people. You will post a speech, for example, your speech, and then your teammates will evaluate that speech, 4 or 5 people. And that same with them, you will then also evaluate all the people who have done speeches that are on your team. And it's a random selection of team members, and I just will pick those randomly and post those and send that to you. Okay, number 6, you're going to read the work and watch the videos and take notes, so make sure you're confident in the content of the videos. Utilize Canvas for everything. It seems a little bit repetitive here. I need to go back and clean some of this up. So you are expected to do all the things as scheduled, turning them in on time. I do accept work up to a week late. That may not be the best strategy in terms of, because a week is equal to 3 weeks, but you do need to have the reality of time to develop speeches. There is always going to be a 20% deduction. The good news is we work late. The not so good news is there is a deduction. And I think the COVID-19 virus issues of life changes and not sharing what's happening next, that's kind of behind us now, at least the way I'm approaching this class. So if you're telling me COVID-19 issues, I'm not as prone to give automatic passes. We did that last semester. That is kind of behind us now. Good news for that. Still there, but you get the idea. So don't just send me a COVID-19 problem and assume that everything will be okay, because I will dig for details to understand what the situation might be. Number 9, we want the documents that you send us to be as professional as possible. This is going to be typed, Times New Roman, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, all the details are there. Please follow that format. Don't send me other things. double space except when it says not to. Some of the assignments, I'm trying to squeeze as much content out of you in a certain number of pages. So I am watching for unnecessary spacing, because unnecessary spacing means work that is not as long as it could be, not enough content. So be sure to not take advantage of unnecessary spacing. I'm pretty aware of that strategy, so be well aware. And then in each paper that you submit online, just on the front page, first page, that information in the upper left-hand corner, notice it is single space, because I don't want to use up space otherwise. The assignments submitted through Canvas. Make sure you back up all your work at home on a flash drive or something away from your computer, because if you tell me that your work was lost and you need more time, I'm not overly sympathetic, because it is so simple just to save a backup copy on a flash drive. So again, don't tell me that you lost it because of that. We already talked about evaluating others, and part of your grade. 5 quizzes based on the textbook. But there are some other things too that I'm doing that try to be a little bit more creative. In fact, you're going to have a quiz over this syllabus that encourages you to read the syllabus and to understand how that works. 25 points extra credit. It might not be 25. It might be only 15 or so, but you will have some opportunities to earn some extra credit points that just get added to your total points by the end of the semester. There is a list of the required assignments, and you have to complete all of these assignments. You can't just pass on one to lose the points. You've got to turn all these in. Self-introductory speech, and this is, you're going to be posting a speech, what I call "Hi, my name is" speech. That's just a, "Hey, how's it going? I'm Neil. There's some things about me." That's not the one I'm talking about. This is a longer, fuller self-introduction speech where you're going to use an object, a flash drive, a pencil, a car fob, a teddy bear, something, an object to describe yourself. And there's instructions, we'll go through that. We will be doing an informative speech. It's about a 5 to 6 minute speech about a person, a place, a thing. A persuasive speech where you'll be trying to get us to think or act differently about a certain issue. You're going to do evaluations on those 2 speeches. You're going to do a public reading assignment of sharing with us a recording of you sharing a famous speech. Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, Elon Musk, somebody. And then a final exam. Discussion forum posts, we've talked about that already. And I might change the times on those. It says 11:59 on Wednesdays. Yeah, I think I will keep it there, because if you get it done by Wednesday, then it gives people a chance to respond by Friday, and then we can, all that. So usually everything's going to be due on the Sunday, 11:59 p.m. at the end of the week, but the discussions will be timed differently. So make sure you get on with those by Wednesday and then respond to the others by Friday, and give us good content when you're responding to those. At least a few sentences, not just a, "Hey, yeah, me too," or, "Oh, that was great, thanks." Give us some content to why you thought a person's presentation was great. How did it speak to you? That kind of thing. So be deliberate in your contributions. Class motto that showed up earlier: prepare early, practice a lot. And then I like this, Mark Twain, name got cut off there. "It usually takes me 3 weeks to prepare an impromptu speech." So things don't just happen quickly. Even an impromptu, which is supposed to be off the top of your head, takes some brain power. Okay, so the speeches you will present, we kind of touched on these already. A self-introductory speech, there's more detail about it. And there will also be a full page of instructions for each of these assignments. So this is just kind of a heads up on what's involved, and there'll be more detail posted on the websites or in the modules. Modules will be the key place that you will find the assignment listed and all the related documents, instruction page, or any kind of evaluation page will all be posted there in the modules under self-introductory speech, informative speech, persuasive speech. Self-evaluations all have their own module. I'm skipping over that. Another presentation is this public reading, and we just talked about that famous speech. And what goes into your speeches, I have 9 comments, and we talked about this before. Original speeches, please. New speeches, don't redo speeches. You're going to have to submit that required preparation outline. It is required. You cannot give your speech without it, and it has to be up to par. If it's not, I will send it back and have you redo it. I've had students, they just don't want to do those outlines and they fight the process. So don't fight the process, just do it. And it will be very helpful to you, I promise. It will make your speech better. You don't think it will. You might just think it's busy work, but it will help you a lot. Okay, then you're going to have a reference page at the end of that outline. We call it a reference page, not a bibliography page, not a works cited page. And I have a whole explanation that I might do a recording on that sometime, but there's a reason why it's a references page. And everything, the entries are going to be in MLA format, and the 2 comments that are a general comment is like in MLA format on your references page, where you're going to list all the entries of the items you use to develop a speech. Double space everything. That's principle number 1. And principle number 2, then don't add additional spacing between your entries. Everything just gets double spaced, and we use hanging indents. So those three principles to follow. We're not going to bother with video or audio visual aids. We would have these during a class, face-to-face class, but they're just too challenging. So you can reference them, saying according to John Smith in his audio recording of an interview, et cetera, he said this. That's great. You can tell us about it, but you can't say, so now let's cut to this video and throw on a video. We don't do that. PowerPoints will be part of your informative and persuasive speech presentations. Now, one other thing. I want your face on camera the whole time. I don't want you to throw up, like I'm doing with this presentation right now, using the syllabus. I don't want you to use your PowerPoint on the screen. I want you on the screen, and then you're going to send me a separate PowerPoint. So, because I want to see what you're doing and how you're presenting your speech and how your eye contact is, and are you standing with straight posture. Oh, by the way, stand during your recordings of your speeches. Don't sit, stand. And I'm looking for those kinds of things, so I don't want the PowerPoint there. Okay, I don't want dress that is too casual or otherwise inappropriate. By the way, on that Hi, My Name Is, there were several issues that were inappropriate, maybe just poorly done in my presentation. And they're going to kind of be like Easter eggs. I'm going to have you at some point identify as many things that you saw in that video that should have been fixed, corrected, avoided, etc., to see how many you can find, with the idea that you will then avoid those in your own recordings. And so dress appropriately. Usually what you would wear to a job interview is the way I describe it. So let's do that. Okay, so I'm going to pause this recording here so that we can just cut that off. Okay.